where for 32 years he worked in chip reliability, design reliability, and protection of semiconductor components against electrostatic discharge. I have no idea what that means, but that sounds really great, Tim. Tim has authored over 100 journals and conference papers. He has 40 patents and has chaired conferences, workshops, standard committees, and taught short courses at universities. During the PC boom, he published an engineering book, Basic ESD and I/O Design, with an Intel author. In 2009, he was elected Fellow of the Institute of Electrical and Electronics Engineers for his work on ESD protection of semiconductor products. Tim is now retired, but he continues to publish research work, mentor younger engineers, including former co-workers, and review submissions to technical conferences hosted by the IEEE and the ESD Association. He strives to give back by being a pro bono engineer consultant to semiconductor companies and university. He volunteers for tech-related community activities, such as being a judge for science fairs. Tim has enjoyed Balkan folk dancing for the music and exercise. He also studied Japanese language and culture from the 1970s to 90s and traveled to Japan and many other countries as part of his job. Tim had participated in Alter's Junior Council on World Affairs, and he remembers a lot of the enlightening trips to Washington, D.C. and New York City in 1967 with numerous Alter and Dayton area students. Tim is also a bridge player who started playing with his co-workers at lunch in 1984 and has continued this hobby ever since. He said that bridge has developed the kind of skills that he had seen in Alter's athletes: partnership, teamwork, and good sportsmanship, all of which still serves as consolation for not making the Alter golf team. Dr. Maloney currently resides in Palo Alto, California, and continues to keep in touch with a number of former classmates. His nominator said this: "I have known Tim since we were at Alter together. He has been a faithful and kind friend ever since. I have enormous respect for him, not just as an engineer, but as a human being with compassion and integrity." Dr. Timothy Maloney.
Thank you, Norm. Well, in a moment, I'll answer what you had to ask about electrostatic discharge. But no,
Maybe we can do that afterwards.
it won't take long, Norm. I think people will appreciate it, because I decided to start that after hearing a lot of remarks here. I decided to start by acknowledging somebody who might be embarrassed if I acknowledge my friendship with him at all, since it goes back to when I started in ninth grade as a 14-year-old, 5'3", 85-pound freshman. Now, if anybody can beat those figures on the low side, contending here, maybe we should talk. But this gentleman, an athlete that a lot of you know, and he seems to know all of you, is Dave Reichert, class of '67. And he's mentioned the names of countless folks that we've heard from tonight. And my friend Ellen and I had a long lunch with him on Wednesday of this week when I got to town. But Dave was the guy who believed in me when I was a freshman and he was on the athletic teams and so on. And I chalked that up and said, well, this school might work out all right. After all, I seem to be a little bit out of the mainstream. And you're going to hear some things, from me about leadership and all that are a little bit out of the mainstream, but I think the ending was good. So yeah, no, I talked to the students today about how I had an early start on these presentations back in 2020, when, inspired by your Night Times monthly magazine, I saw, the monthly listing summarizing the STEM talks, sponsored by Jen Butler, and I said, well, heck, I could do one of those. And by the time the pandemic happened, I said, well, I could do one over YouTube, and just communicate to them by email and do all this in my living room. So I did in 2020 in October, and put it on my YouTube channel. And that channel is, all you need to know is my channel name, TJ Maloney, one word, no spaces. I claimed it in 2005, and all the other TJ Maloneys, including the bodybuilder, have to do something else like put in a space or a number afterwards, but I'm not the bodybuilder. As was noted, I get my exercise through folk dancing and a little music participation too, and then the bridge, which Norm covered very well, that's what fills in for athletics. It's a game. It's got partnership, teamwork, diplomatic skills, hilarious incidents, and a front row seat at the human comedy. All those things. I got out of bridge by joining a lunch group. Okay, I was 34 years old, late bloomer and all that, but I had some skills that I still needed to complete. So, 34, fine, go for it. It seemed to speak to me, and my lunch girl, the boss, was playing bridge too, so you kind of get permission that way. On the other hand, watch out about playing bridge in college, or some of you have kids in college. You can get hooked. I knew guys at MIT who are now famous bridge players, but they're not famous for what they majored in at MIT. So, those hazards exist. We all know, we know how to coach, you folks know how to coach kids through youthful hazards better than I do. I made this STEM talk thing in 2020, and then when this invitation came in from Alter, you tell the people months in advance. That gives them time to prepare, and so I just happened to have a correspondent, a high school teacher. They call it secondary school in England. I have a correspondent there who teaches computer science at a secondary school, and we met by accident around 2020, and we've been chatting each other by email ever since. We've never met, but something clicked, and I told her about this high school thing. She's taken an interest in my career. She has teenage kids, and I seem to be some kind of a soothing presence. So I'm just going for it. So she said, well, let's talk about this pile of talking points that you have for Alter, which we can't possibly get through, and get on Zoom, as we had done a number of times, hit the record button and see what happens. So what you have that's dropped within the last week or two on YouTube, TJ Maloney, is a bunch of videos, many of them about Alter, including what I would call an affectionate remembrance of Father Haskamp, in case he needs better representation tonight. You're welcome to look at it. They're mostly, sort of unfiltered raw footage. Not too bad for raw footage and very light editing. I might do some more editing. I have a few unlisted that have jokes in them that probably could use some editing. I might get to that, but there's plenty to look at. You can binge watch, and that's everything that I didn't get around to saying. You'll have enough of me by the end of it. I've had enough of it. So I guess what I wanted to talk about, a little bit almost countercultural about leadership is that, we knew when I finally had a group of guys to hang around with at Alder, we played poker because we didn't know how else to have some fun without getting into too much trouble. Well, those guys aren't here tonight, by the way. They know too much. But, so a bunch of poker players, and I'm talking about bridge players starting in my 30s. But what about poker players? You learn some life skills that way, right? But it's, you don't learn the teamwork and cooperation that you athletes. I don't want to say we were envious of the athletes or the student council people and all that with the leadership training they were getting. We didn't want to admit to that, but we could stand to use a little progress on that also. And a bunch of poker players are playing a game that's sort of every man for himself, right? And you'll learn some diplomatic skills. You'll learn to look over personalities and understand people and all that. But it's not complete. It never felt complete to me. And perhaps most fortunately, I about broke even on being a poker player. I wasn't terribly bad, but I wasn't good either. I wasn't good enough to develop a gambling habit, and that's what happened. That's another thing you have to watch out for in your kids. I've seen this happen too much. Somebody who's good at games as a teenager takes money from their friends. I mean, I knew guys in college. Oh, I get pizza money by just playing some bridge or poker for money, and I've got pizza money and also a gambling habit. So that's something to be aware of. So fortunately, I wasn't good enough at that. I didn't take it that seriously. It was a way to socialize. It was a way to take advantage of some guys who actually seemed to like me, but we didn't like each other enough to lead each other or get a group cohesiveness together. I mean, this would extend to hilarious lengths. For example, even just ad hoc leadership, like driving directions, maybe. I know that shortcut there will save 10 miles. Shut up, Maloney. So if that's the way I'm going to be treated, as not even trying to be their leader, or just get a little bit of group cooperation together. I said, maybe I shouldn't try to set myself up as anything other than maybe a thought leader. Okay, well, what's a thought leader? The best thought leaders around are people who are left alone long enough to think about stuff so that they have something substantial to contribute to their organization. So that's what I got away with, in the corporation and university for the longest time. Well, as a PhD student, you get to be a leader, you get to lead yourself.